Once upon a time, in a small, dusty village where the roads were rough and the days felt longer than they should, there lived a young boy named Arjun. He was not known for greatness. He was not surrounded by opportunity. He was simply trying to survive in a world that never seemed to slow down for people like him. Arjun lived with his old mother in a small, worn-out house that barely protected them from the outside world. The walls were weak, the roof leaked when it rained, and the nights were often colder than they could handle. But what hurt the most was not the condition of the house. It was the quiet understanding that this might be all their life would ever be. Every morning, before the sun rose, his mother would slowly wake up. Her body had grown weak over the years, but her love had only grown stronger. With trembling hands, she would carefully arrange a few fruits into a basket. Each fruit mattered. Each one carried hope. Each one was a chance for them to eat that night. "Arjun," she would say gently, her voice soft but full of care. "Wake up, my son. Go early today." Arjun would open his eyes, already feeling the weight of the day before even stepping outside. He would sit up, look at his mother, and force himself to stay strong. He didn't want her to see the fear in his eyes, the fear that one day his effort would still not be enough. He would take the basket from her hands, noticing how fragile her fingers had become. That moment always stayed with him, not the basket, but her hands. He stepped out into the street, where life was already moving. People had places to go, things to do, and dreams to chase. Arjun had only one goal: sell enough to survive. "Fresh fruits! Fresh fruits!" he called out as he walked. Some people ignored him. Some looked and walked away. Some didn't even hear him. Hours passed, and the sun grew hotter. His voice became weaker, his legs heavier, his hope smaller. By midday, hunger began to settle deep inside him. He had not eaten. He often didn't, because every fruit he kept for himself was a fruit his mother could not depend on. Still, he walked. Still, he tried. Because giving up was not an option when someone was waiting for you at home. Then one day, everything went wrong. Dark clouds gathered quickly, and before he could react, heavy rain poured down. People ran for shelter, covering their heads, protecting what mattered to them. Arjun stood there, holding his basket. The rain fell harder. It soaked the fruits, washed away their freshness, and slowly destroyed everything he had worked for that day. He tried to cover them with his body, but it was useless. Within minutes, it was over. The fruits were ruined. The day was lost. And he stood there, drenched, shaking, helpless. He didn't cry immediately. He just stood there, staring at what remained, as if his mind refused to accept it. Then, slowly, quietly, tears began to fall. Not loud, not desperate, just silent. Because deep inside, he felt something heavier than sadness. He felt tired. Tired of trying, tired of hoping, tired of always ending up in the same place. That evening, when he returned home, his mother was waiting. She saw him and immediately understood. He placed the basket down without speaking. She looked at him, not with disappointment, but with concern. "My son," she said softly, "did you eat?" That question broke him. Not because he had, but because even in her weakness, she still cared more about him than herself. That night, they shared almost nothing. But they shared something else, silence filled with understanding. Arjun lay awake for a long time, staring into the darkness. His mind was louder than ever. Thoughts ran through him, questions he had never asked before. Is this really my life? Will it ever change? For the first time, he didn't accept his situation. He questioned it. The next morning, nothing looked different, but Arjun was. He looked at the basket differently, not as a burden, but as a starting point. He stepped into the streets again, "Fresh fruits! Fresh fruits!" he called out. But this time, there was something new in his voice. Not strength, not confidence, but intention. He started watching people, learning patterns, understanding where to stand, when to speak, how to approach. Days passed, then weeks, then months. It was not easy. There were still bad days. Days when he sold nothing, days when hunger returned, days when he felt like giving up again. But something inside him had changed. He no longer believed this was the end of his story. He began saving small amounts, learning from others, trying new ideas, taking small risks. Step by step, slowly, painfully, he moved forward. Years passed. The boy who once walked the streets with doubt in his eyes now walked with purpose. He no longer just sold fruits. He understood business. He built connections. He expanded. It didn't happen overnight. It took time, failure, patience, but he kept going. One day, everything was different. Not suddenly, but clearly. He stood in a place he once thought was impossible. Not just surviving, but succeeding. People who once ignored him now respected him. People who once passed him now listened to him. But the most important moment was when he returned home. His mother was still there, older, weaker, but still waiting. He walked toward her not with a basket, but with something greater: relief. He placed money in her hands, but more than that, he placed peace in her heart. Her eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but of pride. And in that moment, everything they had been through meant something, because he realized something powerful. It was never just about the fruits. It was never just about survival. It was about not giving up when life gave you every reason to. And that is what changed everything.